Have you ever felt that something within you doesn't quite fit into this world, as if your soul carries a debt your mind can't yet name? As if there's an account being tallied in silence, somewhere beyond your sight, that one day will be presented to you? It's not madness, it's not anxiety, it's not the burden of routine. It's a sign. And what's happening now on the spiritual plane explains exactly why you feel this, and why this sensation that something is about to be collected has intensified precisely in recent days. Because a spiritual reckoning is coming. It doesn't arrive with a calendar notification, nor does it knock on your door at a scheduled time. It arrives the instant the invisible realm decides it's time to settle accounts. And today, chosen one, today might be that day for you. I'm not talking about punishment. I'm talking about something far more profound. Every choice you've made, every door you've unknowingly opened, every agreement you've sealed in moments of weakness, all of this creates a record in the spiritual world. And there comes a moment when this record is presented. The question isn't whether the reckoning will arrive. The question is, will you be prepared when it does? There's a game being played on layers that most of humanity cannot perceive. A game where spiritual debts are bought, sold, and collected, without the person even knowing they owed anything. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to be pursued by a pattern? Everything starts going well, and then suddenly something collapses, an opportunity arises, and at the last moment it slips through their fingers. A relationship blossoms, and for no apparent reason, withers. This isn't bad luck, this is a reckoning. It's the moment when the spiritual plane comes to claim what was left unsettled. And what's most disturbing is that most people pay this reckoning without ever understanding what happened. They just feel life becoming heavy, doors closing, the sensation that they are rowing against an invisible current. Think about this for a moment. What if everything you've always felt, that weight in your chest at dusk, that silent certainty that an account is being tallied, that premonition that something is about to be demanded of you, was precisely proof that you are not an ordinary debtor in this story, but someone marked for something greater? Because here is the truth, few dare to speak. The spiritual reckoning doesn't arrive with the same force for everyone. It comes with double the weight upon the chosen ones, and do you know why? Because those designated to carry light are precisely those who most disturb the forces that profit from darkness. You are being charged not because you are weak, but because you are a threat. And this is where things deepen. The reckoning that arrives today isn't about money, though it often manifests in your wallet. It's not about health, though it shows itself in your weary body. It's not about relationships, though it appears in your arguments and estrangements. All of this, scarcity, illness, conflict, is merely the visible layer of something much greater. It is the surface of an ocean whose depths you haven't yet seen. The real reckoning happens on a level few can perceive, the level where your frequency, your spiritual authority, and your purpose are being tested. And whoever undergoes this test unprepared pays dearly, very dearly. That's why I wrote this digital book, The Chosen One's Manual for Divine Family Protection. This book isn't just a read. It is the precise map of how this spiritual reckoning that is arriving works. A map that shows who is playing against you behind the scenes, what debts you don't even know you've carried from your lineage, and what the rules of this reckoning are that no one ever told you. Because there's something no one ever explained to you. Many of the reckonings that reach you didn't even start with you. They come from previous generations, from agreements made before your birth, from doors your ancestors opened and never closed. And this digital book reveals exactly how to identify these hereditary debts, how to interrupt this cycle of reckoning that has been repeating in your family for decades, and how to shield those you love before the bill comes for them too. This book was created for those who have awakened enough to realize that this reckoning isn't random. For those who have felt deep down that there's a pattern, an invisible hand moving the pieces, and who are ready to go beyond the shallow answers the world offers when you ask why your life seems to always be paying for something. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top, but I need to warn you, this kind of content rarely remains available for long. What's in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, because when you understand how the spiritual reckoning works, you stop paying debts that aren't yours, and that breaks an entire system that feeds on your ignorance of these rules. There have been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Don't wait for the right moment. The right moment is now, chosen one, because you didn't arrive at this video by accident, precisely on the day when the reckoning might be knocking at your door. Download now and comment, "I am chosen, and I will download the digital book." This comment is more than just words. It's a declaration to the spiritual plane that you will no longer pay in the dark. And now that you've decided to act, let me tell you the next truth, because it's the first blow against this reckoning trying to bend you. There is a specific moment of the day when the spiritual reckoning acts with the most force. Have you ever noticed how certain hours feel heavier than others? How there are moments when anguish rises without reason, when fear grips your chest, when dark thoughts arrive as if from outside? It's no coincidence. There are windows in time when the veil between worlds becomes thinner, and it's precisely during these windows that the reckonings are presented. The early morning hours are one of them. That moment when you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, heart pounding and not knowing why, that is one of the times when the spiritual plane comes to collect. And whoever doesn't know this wakes up startled, says a hurried prayer, and goes back to sleep without understanding that they've just received a summons. But there's something even more important you need to understand about how this reckoning takes hold. It rarely comes head-on. It is cunning. It enters through the cracks in your life, through that resentment you haven't forgiven, through that grudge you silently nurture, through that envy you feel and pretend not to feel, through that fear you carry as if it were a part of you. Each of these emotions is a door, and as long as these doors remain open, the reckoning finds a clear path to enter your home, your mind, your family. That's why so many people pray, fast, do everything right in the eyes of the world, and yet still continue to be charged. Because prayer is powerful, but it doesn't close doors you refuse to acknowledge are open. And here's one of the best-kept secrets about the spiritual reckoning. It has an expiration date, but only for those who know how to cancel it. Most people believe they simply need to endure, withstand, resist until it passes. But the truth is that the reckoning doesn't pass on its own. It merely changes form and returns stronger, because every time you pay without understanding, you sign a new contract without reading it. It's like a spiritual loan that automatically renews, interest upon interest, generation after generation. And the only way to break this cycle is to understand the mechanism behind it. It's not about having more faith. You already have faith, otherwise you wouldn't be here. It's about having knowledge. It's about knowing what to do with the faith you already possess. Think about your own life now. How many times have you felt you were on the verge of achieving something great, and at the last moment everything slipped away? How many times have you seen people with half your effort achieve double what you do? How many times have you wondered why there always seems to be an invisible obstacle between you and what you deserve? This, chosen one, is the signature of the spiritual reckoning operating in your life. It doesn't prevent you from trying. It prevents you from arriving. It lets you run the entire marathon and trips you a step from the finish line. And it does this precisely because it knows who you are. It knows the potential you carry. It knows that if you get there, you will illuminate paths that will free many people. That's why the reckoning is so fierce with the chosen ones. It's not personal against you as an individual. It's strategic against the light you carry. And it's precisely about this light that we need to talk now, because it is both the reason for the reckoning and your greatest weapon against it. You were born with a specific frequency, a vibration that is uniquely yours, like a spiritual fingerprint. And this frequency is what determines what you attract and what you repel in the invisible world. When your frequency is high, aligned, protected, the reckoning finds nowhere to cling. It slips away, it loses its strength, it goes off to seek easier targets. But when your frequency drops, and it drops through fear, guilt, anger, discouragement, you become a shining target in the dark. You light up a beacon that says, "I am unprotected, come collect from me." And that's why the forces that collect work so hard to keep you down. Every bad news, every toxic person who appears in your life, every thought of defeat that arises in your mind, all of this is a strategy to lower your frequency and leave you vulnerable to the reckoning. It was precisely to teach you how to master this frequency that I structured the Chosen One's Manual for Divine Family Protection as a complete, step-by-step digital book. Because it's no use telling you that your frequency needs to be high if I don't show you exactly how to raise it and keep it elevated, even in the midst of the storm. This digital book reveals the specific methods to shield your frequency and the frequency of your home against the spiritual reckoning, including the exact words of authority that cancel spiritual debts, the times when you should perform your protection to neutralize those dangerous early morning windows, and the family shielding ritual that prevents the reckoning coming after you from diverting to your children, your spouse, the people you love. Because this is the cruelest part of the reckoning. When it cannot reach you directly, it targets those around you. And the digital book shows you how to erect a protective barrier that leaves no crack for it to pass through. And I need to be honest with you about why this knowledge is so unsettling. The link is still there, in the first pinned comment at the top, but I cannot guarantee for how long. Because everything that teaches people to stop paying spiritual reckonings they shouldn't pay interferes with long-standing structures. When you understand the rules of this game, you stop being a source of payment for the invisible world, and that destabilizes something far greater than you imagine. Attempts have been made to erase this type of teaching throughout history. Books have been burned. Those who dared to reveal how true spiritual protection works have been persecuted. That's why I tell you, don't put it off. The right moment is now, chosen one, because you are reading this precisely on the day when the reckoning might be approaching. Download the digital book now and reaffirm, I am chosen and I will download the digital book. Every time you declare this, you are erecting a wall. Now that you've reaffirmed your commitment, let me reveal something that will change the way you see everything. The spiritual reckoning has a blind spot. Yes, it has a weakness, and that weakness is knowledge applied with authority. You see, the reckoning feeds on ignorance. It depends on you not knowing you're being charged, on you attributing everything to chance, to bad luck, to your own incompetence. The instant you recognize, this is a spiritual reckoning and I know how it works, you change the entire game. You move from the position of victim and assume the position of authority. And authority in the spiritual world is everything. It's not about shouting louder. It's not about fearing God more than the enemy. It's about knowing, with unshakable certainty deep in your chest, that you were designated, that you are a child, that you are chosen, and that as a chosen one, you carry an authority that no reckoning can nullify if you know how to wield it. But be aware, for here lies a danger. Many people confuse authority with spiritual arrogance. They believe it's enough to repeat ready-made phrases, shout against the invisible, act as if they are in constant war. And this, in fact, lowers your frequency even further, because it places you in a state of fear disguised as courage. True authority is silent. It is firm as a rock that needs to prove nothing to anyone. When you operate from this calm authority, the reckoning arrives, finds you steadfast and has nowhere to cling. It's like a wave breaking against a cliff. It comes with full force, but the cliff remains. You need to become that cliff. And becoming a cliff is not a talent you are born with. It is a construction. It is something you learn, practice, and master day after day. Also, notice something you may have never connected. Spiritual reckonings often arrive in cycles. There are times in your life when everything seems to collapse at once. Problems at work, with health, in relationships, in finances, all at once. This is no coincidence. It is the reckoning operating in blocks, attacking all fronts simultaneously to overwhelm you, so that you have no strength to fight on any of them. It is an exhaustion strategy, and whoever doesn't understand this despairs, thinking the whole world is falling apart. But whoever understands, recognizes the pattern, takes a deep breath and says, this is a coordinated attack and I know exactly what's happening. This recognition already cuts half the reckoning's strength, because what it fears most is being seen. It operates in the shadows precisely because it cannot bear the light of consciousness. And there is one last level of this reckoning that few come to understand, and which is perhaps the most important of all. The spiritual reckoning doesn't just seek to bring you down. It seeks to convince you to give up on your purpose. This is its ultimate goal. Everything it does, scarcity, illness, conflict, weariness, discouragement, converges on a single aim, to make you believe that it's not worth continuing, that you are not capable, that it's easier to conform and live a small, safe life. Because as long as you believe that, the reckoning has won. It doesn't need to destroy you. It just needs to make you small. It just needs to make you forget who you are. And that's why the greatest act of spiritual rebellion that exists is simply to keep remembering your greatness, even when everything screams that you are insignificant. Look back at your history for a moment. You've been through things that should have broken you, haven't you? You've faced storms that would have brought down most people. And yet you are here, still standing, still searching, still feeling that something greater is calling you. This isn't ordinary resilience. This is the mark of someone who has been sustained by a force beyond themselves. Every reckoning you survived was a training. Every battle you won without even knowing you were at war strengthened something within you. And today, if the reckoning is arriving with greater intensity, it's because you are about to make a leap that will demand everything you've built up to this point. The intensity of the reckoning is proportional to the greatness of the destiny that awaits you on the other side. That's why I don't want you to finish this video and simply move on as if nothing happened. I want you to finish understanding that you have received a key. The spiritual reckoning that arrives today doesn't need to find you unprotected. It doesn't need to enter through doors you don't yet know are open. It doesn't need to divert to your family. You have the power to change this from now on. But knowledge without action is merely entertainment, and you didn't come here to be entertained. You came to transform yourself. And that's why I remind you one last time of the Chosen One's Manual for Divine Family Protection, the digital book that gathers everything you need to face this reckoning not as a victim, but as an authority. Inside it is the complete map, how to identify the reckonings that come from your lineage, how to close the emotional doors through which it enters, how to raise and shield your frequency, the exact words of authority that cancel spiritual debts, the protection times against the early morning windows, and the shielding ritual that protects those you love. It's not distant theory. It's practical application starting today in your home with your family. The link is in the first pinned comment at the top. And remember what I said. This knowledge is unsettling, and therefore I cannot guarantee it will remain available forever. Attempts have been made to silence these truths before, and whoever waits for the perfect moment usually discovers that the reckoning waits for no one. So do as the Chosen Ones do. Act while others hesitate. Download the digital book now before the reckoning knocks on your door and finds you still in the dark. And leave your final declaration below with faith, with authority, with the certainty of one who has already understood which side they are on. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. Because from the instant you declare this and act, the reckoning ceases to be a sentence and becomes just another failed attempt to prevent you from fulfilling that for which you were designated since before birth. You are not the debtor in this story, Chosen One. You are the heir. And heirs do not pay, and they receive what has always been rightfully theirs. The reckoning arrives today. But today, for the first time, it will find you ready.